All right, Shalom, Shalom. This is Howard One Ban Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. Before I begin, I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahushai, Ba Hashem, Harakah Kodash, Ma'amah. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, Nakwatim, and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. It's going to be a quick impromptu lesson. I just came across this article. I was setting up to do one lesson, and as I was setting up, I saw this article. Just a quick statement that was put out as a post by Daily Astronomer. All right, on the Daily Astronomer. I don't subscribe to none of that, but it just popped up on my feed. But the topic caught my attention, so I looked over at it, and it says astronomers have discovered a swarm of stellar mass black holes located roughly 7,800 light years from Earth. All right, and if you understand, you know that when you deal with black holes, you're dealing with the spirit realm, right? Um, right now, I'm gonna go through a couple scriptures, because a lot of us, well, I know I believe that I speak for myself that black holes could be, the place where the spirits transition to the fourth dimension. All right. So when the spirit leaves the body, it goes out into the ether, out in space, and then into the spirit world. Now, let me get this real quick. Hold on. All right, this is Ecclesiastes 3:21. It says, "Who knoweth the spirit of man?" All right, because the spirit is basically already in the fourth dimension. That's part of the fourth dimension. All right, the spirit realm, but also the fourth dimension is um, in distance as well, meaning the spirit travels just like Yahushua did to the fourth dimension. All right. But also, say for instance, the spirit leaves the body, it's immediately in that fourth dimension. All right. So it's a realm as well. So Ecclesiastes 3:21, who knoweth the spirit of a man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth. So the spirit goes out into what's called space or the ether, the heavens, and it transitions into the fourth dimension. Now, let me get this. All right, because you got E in their technology, right? Idumeans in their technology, they're able to see out in the space, see into the earth. All right, these are questions that was asked by people like Ezra's, and the angel was like, "Are you able to see all these things, or go up into space, or go down to the earth?" Right? Um, but now today, man has that capability through their technology to see or to go out into space, but not too far. they got bounds that they cannot pass. All right. So that's in every sense of that. Like the as far as how far they can see out there, they got bounds that they cannot pass. How far they can go out there, they got bounds that they cannot pass. Uh, their rulership, as far as the kingdom and age, they have bounds that they cannot pass. So the Most High has a time set and a distance that they can't pass. Right, even with their um, telescopes. All right. So Ezekiel 28. Now this is about the king of Tyre, who was known as Ethbaal. I think it was the second. But it was a parable speaking of any wicked king that follows or is dominated and ruled by Satan. All right. Baal just means, the devil, basically, man. So today's rulers is these Idumeans, all right, especially their leaders, like. So anyway, let's move on with this topic. Ezekiel 28. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. All right, because Daniel was wise in all wisdom. He knew about space. He knew about the stars, just like King Solomon knew about um, what they call atoms, or the elements, right? He knew about birth. He knew about space, the spirit realm. So Ezekiel 28:3, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. All right, so there's no secret. That's a secret. When we just walking around on this earth, we don't know what's out there behind the firmament. You might see the stars or have a telescope, but now they're able to peer way out there and see thousands of light years away. All right, so there's nothing that can seemingly nothing that can be hidden from them with their technology. All right. Now, mind you, it says, see, this is according to prophecy. Let's go to Daniel 7:8, and you have NASA, which is all pagan. If you think about it, NASA without the T. There was a joke. They say T-1, but that's just jokes. Daniel 7:8. I considered the horns, right? The 10 horns, the Roman Empire, the EU, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. All right, that's talking about America, today called Great Babylon in the scriptures. Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, meaning they were removed out of their power seats over here in this land. Britain, Spain, and France, through those wars, the French Revolution, the Spanish Wars, and you also had the Quasi Wars, but the American Revolution. That's what helped to establish America, and also the 13 colonies got their they got their damn, what am I trying to say? Their freedom, sovereignty from Britain. All right. So now let's keep going. This is all in prophecy. This establishment of this place, the U.S., and they set up the NASA. They set up their space program. Their astronomers. Which is all established in paganism. It's shrouded in paganism, right? It says what? Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this, because they had their roots here, and they were trying to. It was a statement made by, what's his name? King. They call him King Charles. The Idumean. He said if it wasn't for Britain or the UK, the Americans would be speaking French. All right. So this, So anyway, it says here, and behold, and we speak English. And behold, in this horn there were eyes like the eyes of man. So in this the exalted country, right, the high mountain, the scriptures say it says eyes of a man. That's all the technology, the agencies, NASA's being one of them, the astronomers, the astrologers, right? They're pagan advisors, and the, the technocrats, politicians, and it says what? Full of eyes of man. That's why no secret you can hide from them, and a mouth speaking great things. All right, a president. So now Um, let me go here. All right, Isaiah 47:12. Stand. No, let's go to 11. No, let's go to 12. Stand now with thine enchantments, man. Right, with thine enchantments. I mean, every power of this of Edom. He said what? They leaped out of the mouth of the dragon like a frog. These were spirits, evil spirits, man. Right? They're enchantments, they're witchcrafts. The dollar, their false democracy, politics, their military structure, right? And their all the all these programs they got set up to dominate in different areas of the earth and in space and in the ocean. And they're losing that power. That's why the scriptures say, sit down in the dust, there is no throne for thee no more. They're losing that power seat. And all their power is being stripped away by Yahweh, by Shem Shai. All right. So Isaiah 47:12. Stand now with thine enchantments. All right. Enchantments. One second. I'm gonna look at the etymology. Yep. Spells, sorceries, occult practices that Babylon relied on for security. See, just said that, all the technology as well. All right, and space programs, which Yahweh will utterly, which Yahweh declares that all their security will utterly fail against Yahweh's judgment. Just said that. It's crazy. All right, so this is them. This is kind of like all respect to Moses, but the way the Lord let Moses see the promised land but not enter it, he's letting Esau see into space, into um close to the what you would call the awning of paradise, right? But he can't enter it. He letting them see our salvation in these last days, but they can't take part in it. All right, just like Esau saw the blessing of Jacob, but he couldn't take it from him, take it back. All right. Um. So stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. They trust on astronomers, military, politicians, bankers, all that shit too much, man. And their witchcrafts. Let now, that's why they're in the masonry. Let now the astrologers, see what it said, the astrologers found black holes out in space. So they got astrologers here. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee, right? It don't matter how far they can see out in the space, what elements they found, what science, this, that, it don't even matter. It's still going into judgment. All right. So, and it's all they have is built upon paganism. Even the name of their technology, the names of their technologies that they use, a lot of them is paganism. Like the Artemis, it means Diana, right? So yeah, they can see out in the space, right? Check this out. That's why the Lord said there's no secret that they can hide from me, because it was a secret to us. being able to see it. They said, "There's no secret that they can hide from thee." This is one of them. Watch this, Isaiah 40:22. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth. So the earth is a full circle or a sphere, right? But the top or bottom, whatever side of it, if Yahweh sat upon it with his feet and his throne, as it says in Ezekiel chapter 1, he's sitting upon the firmament. And he basically saying that he dominates the whole earth and in the universe. That's his house. And the inhabitants thereof are as the grasshoppers. All right. That stretcheth it is he that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain. That's what they call the satin sheet. Right? What we call space is stretched out, and it's still being stretched out and grown for the children of Israel to inhabit. He said, "In my father's house are many mansions." And there's also, as we know, because of 3-Eye Atlas, there's highways out there that you can use going around planets through its gravitational pulls and all these different things, man. And then you have these black holes and uh, entrances and exits to paradise. Right. So when the angels come here, uh, they come from the fourth dimension into the third dimension. All right. So now, and you know how they get here? They can just appear, teleport, or they can travel. You know, the scriptures say we're gonna see Yahweh Shai traveling with the angels, with all the hosts of heaven coming with him from the heavens. But then you can have an angel just appear right here on earth. All right. Then we saw in the scripture where it says Yahweh Shai was taken from the earth, and they saw him going up in the cloud into space, and then he was translated or taken out into the fourth dimension. All right, so the second Ezra is 4 and 7. It says here 4 and 6. Then answered I and said, "What man is able to do that thou shouldest ask such things of me?" All right, so now Esau is not able to go out into far into space or too deep into the earth or too deep into the Amazon. So there's bounds that they cannot pass, but they have been able to see into it. As far as they can't go, they have technology that can see into certain places. All right, and they was able to see allegedly 7,000 light years away. And he said unto me, "If I should ask thee," this is the angel speaking to Ezra, "if I should ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea." So there's all kind of great dwellings in the midst of the sea, even so deep where the Leviathan could dwell, and we wouldn't even ever come in contact with him unless the Most High says so. Right, to these last days. Um, Caves under the ocean, within the ocean, in depths of the sea. If I should ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, right? Because there's great dwellings in the sea, there's great dwellings, habitations upon the earth, and there's great dwellings out in space, many mansions, right? Or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep? Or how many springs are above the firmament, right? Because the water's out there, the Shemayim, space, right? Or which are the outgoings of paradise? See that? Oh man, which are the outgoings of paradise? You got the windows of heaven, of the firmament. If you understand that, they got there's holes in the firmament. Uh, you also have uh out in actually the fabric of space, the satin sheet, you have black holes. All right. So it says, peradventure thou wouldest. So it says, or which are the outgoings of paradise? So let's see what paradise is talking about. Peradventure thou wouldest say unto me, I never went down into the deep, like talking about physically, nor as yet into hell or into the ground. That shows you that hell is the grave with the ground, not a place where you burn forever and all that. All right. Nor as yet into hell or into the ground. Neither did I ever climb up into paradise or heaven. That's what it says right there. It says heaven. All right. So the ins and outgoings of heaven or space or paradise. All right. Into the fourth dimension. All right. So, but Esau is able to see these things with their technology. And it's something I want to go over real quick. Hopefully it's edifying. I'm going to say shalom.